at Hen and Chick Studio in Conrad, Iowa, and I am here for week 3 of our Caboodle Sew Along video. And as always, I love to know where all of you are watching from. So jump in the comments, tell me where you're watching from, and be sure to give me some feedback so I know what questions you might have. Well, you might be saying, Caboodle Sew Along, what is that? So let me just give you a quick refresher. And I forgot to grab the pattern. 1 second. This is all about live TV. How could I have forgotten the most important thing? And that is the pattern. This is the Caboodle Sew Along pattern that we are using. And you can go to our website right now and download this pattern for free. We do have limited copies in the store, but certainly we do have some. It is a great pattern, and oh my gosh, so many of you are already making it, and I'll talk about that in a second, but it is free. The pattern is free. If you want the pattern, download it, have fun with it, great. If you say, hey, I love that pattern, and I think I heard Heidi say she's giving away prizes if we get it done by July 16th, you are right. So if you would like to participate in the sew along from the standpoint that you can get this top, just the top, done by July 16th and upload it to our website, then you're going to have a chance for drawing of prizes on the 17th. Okay. So what does this all mean again? If you go to henandchickstudio.com/caboodle, you're going to find everything. You're going to find the free downloadable pattern. You're going to find a kit if you want to make it just like this, because it's so adorable, using the whole country caboodle basics of bubbles and plaids. And this is a design by the whole country caboodle for all Henry Glass fabrics. So we do have that kit available. So on that page, you're going to find the free downloadable project. You're going to find the kit to make this if you need some fabric. Otherwise, you can use your stash. Nothing wrong with that. And then you're going to, at the very bottom, see some inspiration from the customers who have already gotten the quilt done, and they've uploaded it, and it's on the website. So be sure to check out a little bit of inspiration. Now, you say the 16th, that's only 13 days away. Not a problem. Minerva got this done in a week. I know you can get it done in 13 days. You certainly can. So once also on that page are the videos. So video number 1, I actually went to the whole country caboodle and talked with the designers, Leanne and Caitlin, mother and daughter, about their basic collection. It was a wonderful trip. That video is on that page. Last week, I went through cutting tools and some tips. That video is on that page. When this video gets done, it will live on that page. So if you're like, oh, where did I hear that caboodle stuff? henandchickstudio.com/caboodle. There's also a link right on the front page of our website. And hello, Angelina. Nice to see you from Nebraska. I love it. Okay. So today, the third video is going to be about piecing. And I've got lots of tools and little tips for you about piecing. Next week, our video will be about finishing the project. Again, not that you have to finish it for this particular sew along, but more just ideas and inspiration so that you can get it done and be using it, because we all want to have a quilt that is done. Okay, so henandchickstudio.com/caboodle. All right, let's talk a little bit about piecing. And I want to start with sewing machines. I get asked a lot about what sewing machine is the best. And my little rant, getting up on my soapbox about sewing machines, is that there are a lot of good brands out there. I could name them, right? Janome, Brother, Viking, I'm going to Pfaff, a Brother. I know I'm not saying them all, right? They're all good brands. They all have different bells and whistles. So it's like, do you drive a Ford or a Chevy? Do you like roll down windows or do you like power windows? Power seats, hot and cold seats, no seats, heated steering wheel. You know, what features do you like? So each of those brands has different features and you have to test drive them. There is no one machine that is perfect for any particular person. But the most important thing, besides the features of the machine, are the education and service that you're going to get with that machine. So when you purchase a machine, whatever it is, find out. Do you get classes? Are they going to help you if you've got a problem? What does that all look like for you? Because again, any of these machines are wonderful, but if you don't know how to use it or have a problem, you're going to get frustrated and then that machine isn't going to be of any use. So education and service, two big things. Other than that, it really is about what bells and whistles you want. Now, I will tell you that the average quilter, I believe, owns, the last survey I saw was 2.3 machines. So it's okay to have more than one machine. If you want to jump in and tell us, honestly, how many machines you have, go right ahead. Because I think some people aren't aware that, for example, you might want a bigger machine with lots of embroidery and you could do hoop embroidery and all that, bigger throat size for quilting. If that machine is always going to stay in the same place at home. But if you're a retreater and you like to come to Hen and Chick Studio, you're probably going to want that simpler, lighter weight sewing machine with fewer bells and whistles on it so that you can travel easily. So there definitely are differences. And then you can get, really particular about particular stitches and different kinds. Like, for example, a lot of you love the old featherweight. It's a straight stitch and that's all it does. And it can be really good. I mean, there are as many sewing machines as we have hours in the day, right? So again, find the one that works for you, education and service. The other thing you need to be looking for when you are looking for a machine is the 1/4 inch foot. And I should have thrown in there, when you're looking for a machine, tell the people at the sewing machine, place that you're open to even used machines, because sometimes you can get a slightly more features if you're willing to go back a model, an older model. So if somebody trades in to get the newest model, if you don't have to have the bright new shiny one right off the dealer, the car lot kind of thing, and you're willing to have a slightly run machine, usually those sewing machine places, they're cleaning them all up, they're making sure they're running good, they give you maybe some type of a limited warranty, so be sure to ask about that. Okay, so what feature in a sewing machine would be the number one feature that I would be looking for? And that is a 1/4 inch foot or a 1/4 inch seam. So again, every machine is different. So I'm not an expert on any machine. Some machines come with a 1/4 inch foot and it's marked and you know exactly what a 1/4 inch is. Or you can adjust your needle based on what that means for a 1/4 inch, again, depending on your machine. So that is a foot that I would absolutely be asking for. And if you say, I don't have a 1/4 inch foot, go to your sewing machine dealer. Most machines can add a 1/4 inch seam, even if it is not original to your machine. So don't say, oh, I've got an older machine, I can't get a 1/4 inch foot. Not the case. You can absolutely get a 1/4 inch foot. Couple of things about your 1/4 inch. And it is so important. It is so important to have that 1/4 inch. And if there's one thing that you leave today's video with is, the idea that you do have to have a perfect 1/4 inch seam in order to accurately piece a project. Last week I talked about cutting. It's very, very important that you cut accurately. If all of a sudden you're sewing and all of your seams are 1/8 of an inch too large, your block is going to be smaller than what it's supposed to be. If it's 1/8 of an inch too big, too small, it's going to be bigger than you need, right? Did I say that right? Yes. It's getting late in the day. And so that accuracy is so important, and to find that out sooner than later is very important. And a couple of tools to help you with. A very, very quick guide from Celine Perkins at Perkins Dry Goods for a $6 investment. First of all, it's just a cute little 4-inch ruler, but it is a perfect piecing seam guide. And we actually have a video on our website underneath inspiration showing how she uses this and how she sets it up and how she tests. But if your machine doesn't have any guides, you've already always struggled with 1/4 of an inch, always a good thing to be able to do. But one of the things that also works really well with this is the sewing edge. This little tool that is basically, it's a little piece of tape that between this ruler and this tape, then you can mark your sewing edge and make sure that you are staying accurate to the 1/4 of an inch. You can use masking tape, not a problem. I mean, there's other things you can use, but that is, these are two great tools. This is $6, this is $10.95. They're all on our website. I'm not scanning any of them tonight, okay? When you are piecing and doing just in general, especially like with triangles and that kind of thing, there are other tools that you can use depending on what you feel comfortable with. So we have the Clearly Perfect Angles from New Leaf Stitches, and it is a clinging guide that helps mark, 1/4 of an inch guides and helps bring that down farther so you can see it as you line up triangles. She has lots of great instructions for that. So that's the Clearly Perfect Angle. And then another one that I love is the Cluck Cluck Sew Diagonal Seam Tape. And this is $7.50. This is $11.77. And this tape lasts a long time. It works for several different things. One obvious is helping you mark that 1/4 of an inch from your needle and your sewing machine. Also works if you're trying to do some hand stitching and want your stitches to be 1/4 of an inch apart. So lots of options for that as well. Or if you're doing diagonal sewing on triangles and need something, again, to bring your sewing line, your vision line out from your needle. That's a great tool as well. Okay, so those are a couple things about 1/4 of an inch. If you are at all unsure, test 3, like if you do 3 2.5-inch wide strips, then when you sew those together, your middle strip should be 2 inches when you're done. And we're going to talk about pressing in a minute, and that's equally important. But there's lots of different ways to test. And again, that video that I have on the inspiration page from Celine Perkins at Perkins Dry Goods definitely goes through all of that and testing it out. Okay, some other tools that are necessary. Now, I know none of us want to admit it, but you gotta have a seam ripper. And seam rippers are essential, and it's handy to have one. So when we do make a mistake, that we can rip it out easily. And seam rippers, for as inexpensive as they are, $8.50 for this lovely little one, it's okay to have more than one, and it's okay to replace your seam ripper. Because at some point, just like any piece of metal that is sharp, it becomes dull. And if you're having trouble ripping thread with your seam ripper, it might be as simple as get a new one, okay? Great stocking stuffer, too. And, and Jan says, fun to see me late in the day. Well, it's the kind of day where it was just easier to do it at this time of day than earlier. So I'm glad you like this time of day. Okay, another tool for piecing that is essential. It's essential. And if you have never treated yourself to this, now is the time. They are my favorite Patchwork Pins Fine. This little box is $9.50. Yes, maybe a little bit more expensive than your typical pins, but they are silk pins and very thin. And when you are trying to get a bite of fabric together, when you're piecing pieces together, I'm telling you, they're wonderful. I always use the example when we're doing our long arm class that we use the big yellow headed pins that are nice and long and really thick. Those are great for going through zippers and selvages and all of that. But like you try to put that pin into your fabric when you're trying to just hold seams together so that you get them matched, it feels like you're putting a nail through your fabric. Again, treat yourself. Get some Patchwork Fine pins. Love those. All right, let's talk about irons and ironing boards for a minute. Another piece that is critical to the whole piecing process is pressing. And do we know what the difference between pressing and ironing is? Do you know that there's a difference between pressing and ironing? All right, so we iron large, I'm going to say swoops. We iron men's shirts. We press quilts. Pressing in a quilt is more up and down motion than it is back and forth and back and forth. Because at some point, if you're going back and forth ironing, you're potentially stretching that fabric out of shape. So you want to think of quilting as more like pressing, up and down action, up and down action. What can help you make those things simpler? All right, so a couple of little things. I have fallen in love with these wool mats. And this is just one shape that I have here in the wool mat. We're getting the big ones for the retreat center now. And I'm telling you, love them. If you've got the space for the big ones. And I want to say it's like 24 by 58 inches. They're expensive, but what is the benefit of a wool mat? Well, when we're pressing, if we're heating up that element from both the bottom and the top, we're more likely to get a crisp finish. That's how I look at it. And this wool mat is going to hold the heat. Now, with that in mind, don't set this on a good wood table because that moisture is going to stay there and you potentially could warp your table. So like we've gotten silicone mats that are heat resistant to put underneath of them so that we don't end up with moisture damage on our tables. Even some of the plastic tables, you can start to melt them or get a bubble in them. So a cheap silicone mat is worth the investment on that, okay? So they come in all sorts of sizes, right down to like a 4.5-inch square one that we carry as well. Great for piecing or when you're like putting together applique shapes, like the whole country Caboodle does, all those dogs and cats. A little one can be great for helping get those applique shapes and not having to deal with a great big mat. You can do it someplace locally. But I love the wool mats for that reason, to have that steam on both, heat on both sides, the top and the bottom. So you got to watch out because it does get hot. Okay, another product to be looking at is Best Press. I don't use Best Press. It's not a product that I've gotten used to. Do I see benefits in using it? Absolutely. I don't pre-wash any of my fabric, so my fabrics tend to still have the sizing in them that they came with, which is like, if you want to say that sizing creates a little bit of stiffness. So I don't pre-wash my fabrics because I think fabrics today are stable and that we don't need to. When I'm doing a lot of machine piecing, I want that extra sizing in there to keep my strips straight, all sorts of things. But if you're a pre-washer and you have pre-washed it, you might need to add a little bit of starch back in so that that fabric doesn't just move all over the place. So then Mary Ellen's Best Press, I only get the scent free here. I certainly would be willing to potentially order scents, but I'm a scent free person. So I get all the scent free. We have it both in the small size. So if this is your first bottle, We get these 2 pieces. If you need the refill bottle, we have that as well. So you can absolutely check that out too. Okay, so that's just a little tip. They refer to it as the clear starch and sizing alternative. It just makes ironing easier, that kind of thing. So, all right, so there's that. And then recently, I got in some clappers. Some people had been talking about them, and I was working with Riley Blake, and they had some different things. So I've always thought of clappers as being more of a dressmaking tool, but there's a lot of use in quilting and can benefit. So when I talk about that steam and that heat from pressing, if you add a clapper on top of your piece after you pressed it and let it sit there until it cools, again, it's capturing that heat, adding a little weight, and it's keeping that in there in that piece. And so we've got the 7-inch clapper, and you can see that one. We have the 12-inch clapper, and then I did get just one, just to see how you guys would like it. So if this sells out quickly, don't worry, I can order more. My sales rep is coming. But I did get the giant quilt block clapper. Now, this handle for traveling purposes and shipping is on its side, but there's actually 2 holes on the back that you would transfer it to that so that you can actually push the handle down. But for shipping purposes, we will not do that. We'll leave it this way so it's easier to ship. And again, there's even just a little diagram to show you how it's going to work. This one's a little more expensive, $79.98. But it is, this one is 8 by 10 inches. And so it offers just, again, a bigger, so if you're doing lots of blocks, you could put that on top of your block and be ready to go, okay? So we've got that little tool there as well. All right. One other, I'm going to say back to pins. I just had to point out, because we have a lot of fun with these in the store, but they're dangerous, right? It's a Zircle. They come in lots of colors. I happened to grab purple and green. They're magnetic. Oh, I don't know if you can tell, but like I have to like pull them apart. So I always say, do not get your fingers in between, and I'm gonna get it back together so I don't, okay? And then what it does is it throws, if you put the pin point down, it'll throw the head to the outside so that they stay nice and organized. And again, they come in a variety of colors. And so we always have the Zircle, $21.99 for that. And if you like something a little bit more creative, who doesn't like a needle minder? And this is so much fun from Lori Holt. $13.98 for this little needle minder that you can throw on your shirt, your sweatshirt or whatever. So if you're, instead of putting pins into your shirt, do you know how many people I see walk around with pins in their shirt? I'm like, are they going to remember those when they go to take their sweatshirt off at night? Versus if you had a needle keeper. Or this can sit, maybe you have a little a work space right next to you that you just throw them on to the needle keeper. But what a fun little scarecrow guy. This goes with her autumn collection, and that makes it really fun there. So a great needle minder from the Lori Holt collection. All right. And obviously talking a lot about 1/4 inch. I do want to go back to pressing for just a minute and talk a little bit about how I press. I do think it's a little bit different than some people. And so want to make sure that you know that the very first thing I do is I always set my seam. When I say that I'm going to set my seam, that means that when I sew 2 pieces together, before I open them up or, do anything with them, I literally put it on the ironing table. I put the iron on top, just give it a little squirt of steam and heat to what I say, set the seam. I'm trying to make sure those fibers are all going in together. Then I take my hand, open up the piece, take the tip of the iron, and I gently press that open. I'm not pushing it over, kind of thing, but when I do that, I have the fabric that I want the seam to go toward is on the top. So I'm going to just use black and white. If I was piecing together a black square and a white square, I would put the black square on top, set the seam with my iron, take the black piece, open it up, and then I would press the tip of my iron. I would press right at the crease with the seam going toward then the black. So now it's going to go toward the black. I feel like I get a much crisper pressing job. One of the things that you don't want is that you don't want to have a lip of those two pieces. You want to make sure that that piece goes over and that it's not creating any kind of a pocket. You can't be able to, it'll have just a little lip that's going to be helpful when you put pieces back together, but you don't want something where your fingernail grabs it and like you've got even 1/8 of an inch extra. You want it to be a nice crisp lip of just basically the weight that the thickness of the fabric itself and the thread as it goes over. And so I refer to all that as setting the seam. I do the exact same thing when I'm sewing very long strips together. I go down with the two pieces not pulled apart, set the seam, and then I come back and I open it up with my seam. Now, I rarely press from the back, like from the wrong side, rarely. Only I check it and make sure that my seams are going the direction. If I messed it up or something, I might correct it from the back. But I am looking at it from the top because that's, to me, what's important is going to be visible. I want to see that I'm pressing it correctly. So that is something that you might want to pay attention to. Okay? All right. Well, my goodness, my few tips and tricks has lasted a little bit longer than I thought for piecing, but I certainly hope that you've learned something today. Always jump in the comments and tell us what you learned, or if you have a specific question about piecing, don't hesitate to reach out. Whether I'm at the front of the store or any one of our staff, we would be glad to help you have a more accurate seam allowance and to be successful in your piecing. We hope that you'll download the free pattern from henandchickstudio.com/caboodle and participate in our Caboodle sew along. We sure are glad that the Whole Country Caboodle has designed some great patterns and fabric from Henry Glass for us to use. All right, everybody, until the next time, have a great day.